Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and a notable question has been answered today by Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. Is Ripple going to pursue an initial public offering, an IPO? That's a firm yes. Absolutely. So looking through, forward to running through all of the specifics with you on this. But before we go any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you're a fan of Ripple pursuing an IPO, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. It's an XRP-centric channel, and fun fact, the best channel on all of YouTube. All right, so I'll tell you what, the headline on the screen right now, this is from crypto media outlet U Today. Let's just call it a missed opportunity for an awesome, noteworthy headline. Because here's the headline, and I want to be clear. What's talked about in here is Brad Garlinghouse discussing the fact that there will be a Ripple IPO, and there's a timeline associated with it. And here's the headline, and they talk about it in the article. Here's the headline that they ran with today. Ripple CEO, Bitcoin cannot be used for payments. Your coffee will be cold. Missed opportunity, man. And I like this website, so I'm not doing coming from a nasty place with this, but I clicked on the article. I was like, oh, I wonder what the heck he's talking about, because I've heard Brad Garlinghouse make the comment about, okay, you don't want to buy your coffee with Bitcoin. By the time you get it, your payment goes through, then the coffee be cold. That's not new, but I was like, okay, it's something about Ripple. I'll read this, and it was about a freaking IPO. So let's go ahead. Let me just jump straight to the tweet here that got all this going. This is from Ashish Burla. He is a SVP of product at Ripple, one of Ripple's original employees, and he tweeted a couple things out today. And this is a quote from Brad Garlinghouse that Ashish writes in his tweet. I'm bullish on Bitcoin as a store of value, but not for payments. You don't want to use Bitcoin at Starbucks because by the time you get your coffee, it'll be cold. And again, that was Brad Garlinghouse at Wall Street Journal House. Good point on why there won't be one crypto to rule them all. Absolutely, and all sorts of different people want different things in their cryptocurrencies. I've said that many times in this channel. Couldn't be more clear to me. It's one of the many reasons that I think it's rather silly to be a maximalist of any cryptocurrency. It's like, maybe think a little deeper and see why that just won't make sense. Different people want different things. Here's another tweet from Ashish Burla now. This is the more important one. Now, again, the headline that you today ran with specifically came just directly from that tweet. This one's a little more important, though. A little baby boo bit more important. I think you'll agree with me on this. Here's the tweet, and it's Ashish Burla again, but he's quoting Brad Garlinghouse. Brand new. And he writes, in the next 12 months, you'll see initial public offerings in the crypto/blockchain space. We're not going to be the first, and we're not going to be the last, but I expect us to be on the leading side. It's a natural evolution for our company. And then I read that and I was like, what? He says, see, absolutely. So finally, this is the most concrete evidence, and it is like, it's not, he's not saying, I don't know, we're not ready to discuss that. We're not sure if we're going to do an IPO. He's saying, no, there's going to be an IPO and they're going to be one of the first to do it. Look at, and again, the words he used were, we're not going to be the first, we're not going to be the last, but I expect us to be on the leading side, with the time frame that he set being 12 months, within the next 12 months. That's what he's expecting there. So, yeah, this could be next month or 2 months or 3 months from now or 4, who knows. Apparently not far from now. Now, this shouldn't be too terribly surprising. And why do I say that? Well, Ripple just went through Series C funding. That was announced. I don't remember the exact date. Maybe it was earlier, mid-December. I honestly can't recall off the top of my head. All right, but Series C funding, they received a $200 million cash injection, which admittedly they didn't necessarily need. But Brad Garlinghouse, and I like the way that he worded it, he said that it contributed to balance sheet flexibility, which means, okay, this is more money, we didn't really need it, but now we can spend even more and grow even faster, right? So that's how I took it anyway. But take a look at this, Series C funding. So I pulled up this website, startups.com. What is Series C funding round? So why did this all matter? Because they ended up having, as a result of that $200 million funding round, the company Ripple ended up having a $10 billion valuation, right? And so check this out. What is Series C funding round? Companies that make it to the Series C stage of funding are doing very well and are ready to expand to new markets, acquire other businesses, or develop new products. Commonly, Series C companies are looking to take their product out of their home country and reach an international market. They may also be looking to increase their valuation before going for an initial public offering, IPO, or an acquisition. And so we thought, okay, as far as acquisitions, we already knew that Ripple had gone down the path of, and they just started, they purchased in 2019, I'm going to have to pull from memory. Maybe it was a couple companies they had bought, one or two anyway. But they made it clear that that's the path they're going to go. They're going to do more acquisitions as it makes sense. And so there was no indication whatsoever that they were looking to be sold to another company. And so with the Series C funding round, it's frequently the case that either you're going for an IPO or you're looking to position yourself and make the company worth more so that you can sell and then have a nice big old payday. Now, clearly, the way that we were guessing, most people in the XRP community, including myself, if we had to guess, it's not that Ripple was looking to position itself to be sold, more so that it was positioning itself for an initial public offering, which is absolutely clearly the case. I don't think there's a single shred of doubt on that after these comments from Brad Garlinghouse coming out today. So take a look at this, and I want to just briefly cover this. This is a Hodor blog who is very missed since he shut down his blog since, but this is from September of 2019. I just want to briefly mention part of this. I remember I've covered this blog pretty in depth right after it came out, and I briefly mentioned it when we were talking about the Series C funding round, but since we know for sure, I want to bring this up again because there are always new people joining the channel. And so I want to make sure that people are aware of this. What are the implications of an IPO for Ripple, right? Well, I'm not going to cover this whole thing, but this part is definitely noteworthy because how much money could actually come in, or what would actually come in, once Ripple goes through their IPO process. And so there's this little subheading here in this Hodor blog titled "Capital Gushes During an IPO." Despite the fact that Ripple raises money from their software revenue and sales of XRP, both of these are no comparison to the amount of cash that would be raised by an initial public offering for the company. In my estimation, Ripple's IPO should be viewed equivalently to, let's say, Uber, because Ripple's business use case should be just as wide-ranging in terms of market. While Uber claims that its total addressable market is $12 trillion based on entering new markets like mobility, food delivery, and freight shipping, Ripple's market share should be able to be a very sizable share of the remittance and payment market, including P2P, replacement of no-voucher accounts, and B2C and B2B payments. But perhaps it's better to look at a collection of IPOs to get a sense of the capital raised. And here are high-profile IPOs in dollars raised. Uber was $8 billion, Facebook $16 billion, Visa $18 billion, TradeWeb $1 billion, Avantor Performance $4 billion. Where would Ripple end up in terms of money raised? The analysts and underwriters involved will normally set an IPO price that is loosely, some would say very loosely, based on fundamental business factors of the underlying company. In the case of Ripple, I think of its valuation based on a combination of its future total addressable market with an eye towards payment processing software, micropayments, tokenization, payment streaming, and smart contracts. In addition, the analysts would need to account for Ripple's ownership interests in potentially dozens of other companies as part of the Spring Initiative. In short, Ripple's IPO would be sizable. I'd say it should be judged equivalently to Visa or greater, but to be conservative, we should probably judge a future IPO as an average of the above list minus a specific percentage. So here's the math. The average of all the mentioned IPOs above is $9.4 billion. Let's assume that Ripple will conservatively pull in half of that number in capital. That's $4.7 billion, so if you round up, roughly $5 billion in cash, and that's a lot of cash. And this amount purposefully excludes the market value that would be related to the value of the XRP that Ripple holds. I imagine that IPO marketers would attempt to include that in the price, but we will ignore it during our analysis. And so there you go. And I will say this too. Going back to the startups.com page where I was showing you, okay, what is Series C funding round? What's the purpose of it? Well, they go further, and there's this guy named Schroeder in the article, and he had this quote. He stated, in addition to what I was covering there, once a company has built a product that's become a darling in the market, that's when the private equity and investment bankers show up, so, Schroeder says. These folks aren't looking for a lot of risk. They let the angel investors in venture capital firms deal with that. They are looking to put massive sums of money into companies that are already winning to show them to secure, to allow them to secure their leadership position. So again, I want to point that out. Core to Ripple's plan in terms of changing the way that money moves around the world is XRP. They've made no bones about it. It is no secret. And it's not just their words that indicate that, it's their actions as well. Their actions are even stronger than their words, in my humble opinion here. And so again, once a company has built a product that's become a darling in the market, that's when the private equity and investment bankers show up. And again, so they're not looking for a lot of risk. And so the point being, and this is kind of a cool thing, they don't view what Ripple is doing as a huge risk if you're to take this gentleman at his word right here. So, look, Ripple's here to stay. And I'm telling you, the crypto asset class is here to stay. And those cryptocurrencies that offer true utility, I believe, will offer tremendous staying power. And given that the vast majority of the world doesn't know a damn thing about crypto and sure as hell doesn't know about XRP, I could not be more thrilled to have this opportunity to invest in XRP at such early stages, as adoption for this has just barely begun. But that's just my humble opinion. I want to be clear, though, as I wrap up this video, I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!